Happy Tuesday, everyone. We are going to take down the intensity a little bit and bring it into a little bit of core stability work today and work on some isometric work, some gentle dynamic core work, and yeah, get you guys playing around with a nice little format. So before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up today. Our warm-up is another kind of three-parter we got going on, a little triplet. We're going to work on our wide stance good morning for 3 reps, into our side lunge hold for 10 seconds per side, a foot-assisted pistol for 5 a side. If you want to add a tempo in there, you can for 2 rounds, or 3. If you like to add in an extra round, I'm totally fine with that, depending on how much time you have in terms of your warm-up and your time frame in the morning or afternoon. After that, we have our quad plank for 10 to 30 seconds, hip C.A.R.s for 3 each direction and side. So we'll walk you through those. It's been a little while since we've done those. Into our bird dog for 6 to 10 alternating reps at a 3-second hold. We'll hit that 2 to 3 rounds, and then we'll take that down. Finishing off with our floor-facing angel hold for 3 and 5 seconds. Our laying arm extension to swimmer stretch, a little different take on this laying arm extension. So we'll have some fun with that and show you different ways of playing. And then we have our PVC Prone Raise for 3 and 10 seconds. 2 to 3 rounds of that, and then we're going to move into our work set, which is 20 minutes of work. We have 5 rounds, and you're going to set your timer up for a 40-second interval of work and a 20-second interval of rest. What we have for you guys is a forearm plank of 40 seconds. If you'd like to add in those toe points or anything along those lines, you can, but we'll talk about that in our warm-up and our prep video. So we have 40 seconds of plank into 20 seconds of rest. So you're just going to bank as much time in that 40 seconds as you can in that forearm plank. After that, we're going to move into our side plank reach through for 40 seconds, which will equal out to 20 seconds per side. So you're going to take that 20 seconds of nice steady rotation, 20 seconds on the other side, and then you get 20 seconds of rest. From there, plank to plank walkout for 40 seconds, kind of holding on both of these ends for a couple seconds, 1 to 3 seconds per hold in the plank and the plank walkout position. Resting for 20 seconds, and then a hollow hold of 40 seconds for 20 seconds rest, and then repeat the process all over again 5 times. So it's going to be a nice little core burner, full body kind of prep, but it's going to be a nice kind of slower pace kind of work set, just an internal fire rather than a big cardio kind of blaster today. So let's have some fun today, slow things down, heat things up, and let's get you ready to go. All right, guys, let's get everything warmed up. Let's take those feet under the hips. We'll take the arms big and tall up overhead. We're just going to move around a little bit. So we'll get a little side bend. We'll get a little side bend. We'll come back up to center. We're going to scratch our back and reach again. A little side bend. And then big stretch up. Scratch your back and then reach. A little side bend. Big stretch up. Hands come out to that T. We're going to turn them in. Turn them out. Turn them in. And out. And in. And out. Big stretch. We'll bring both hands down behind the neck. Ribs are in. We're going to reach with the elbow, come down. Reach with the elbow, come down. Reach with the elbow, come down. And again, reach with the elbow and back down. Big stretch overhead. We're going to forward fold, touch those toes. Walk up those shins. Nice flat back. We'll come down. Framing a foot, we'll step it back into our lizard. And we'll take that inside hand all the way up. We'll rotate forearm to the floor, come back up, big stretch, and then rotate forearm to the floor, and big stretch, and one more time, rotate forearm to the floor, and big stretch up to the sky. Plank the hand, we'll step back into our down dog, reaching those hips nice and high. We'll come back into our plank, stepping that foot up, nice and square in those hips. We're going to take that inside hand, big reach up, and we're just going to rotate that forearm down to the floor. We'll come back up and rotate forearm to the floor and back up and rotate forearm to the floor and back up. Plant the hand. We'll step back into that down dog, reaching those hips, and come back into our plank, pulling those ribs and hips in, tiptoeing those feet up. We're going to roll ourselves all the way up, big stretch, and a little reach. And a little reach. And bring those hands back down. Let's get you guys ready for action. So pause the video if you'd like to take down any extra kind of movement for yourself today. Cat-cows, thread the needle, scat push-ups, whatever you'd like to do, please take that down. And we're going to move into our first little triplet, which is going to be lower body focused. And we're going to kick started off with our wide stance good morning. So I'm going to start off with a nice wide stance position. So definitely wider than my sumo position. My toes are slightly turned out, nothing too crazy, but enough to give my knees a little bit of freedom. And from here, I'm going to squeeze my glutes, stay nice and tall, and pull the hips back with those soft knees. And then from here, I'm going to stand or tall, big squeeze at the top to open up the hips and the body at the top. I'm going to turn to the side so you guys can see that in terms of where my center mass is staying. So my center mass is staying over top of my midfoot, and my hips are pulling back with those soft knees and getting that nice kind of forward fold action going on. So I'm taking it to about parallel or to about a 45-degree angle. So I'm not worrying about trying to get my chest all the way down to the floor. I'm just taking it to about 90 with those soft knees, that nice long body, and then that good solid stand up at the top. So you can take your time with that, really move smooth, feel those hamstrings, feel those adductors say hi, and continue on with those 3 slow reps. After that, we're going to move into our side lunge hold today. So we did some side lunges yesterday dynamically, and now we're going to do a hold. So my feet are roughly in our same stance as my wide stance good morning. So nice and tall, I'm going to take my hip down to my heel, keeping the chest up nice and high, nice and strong here through this position, and I'm just going to hold actively for 10 seconds. So I'm holding that position up, I'm keeping my weight through my midfoot, and then I'll push to come out of it. It's super important that if you can't get out of it the same way we get into it after holding for that full 10, don't hold for the full 10. Hold for as long as you feel that you can push nice and smoothly out of that bottom position so we can maintain that strong position for the knees and the ankles. So definitely take your time. Don't feel too married to that 10-second hold. If you're not quite there yet, that's fine. Really take the time to listen to your body for that. I'm going to take you to the side of the profile so you can see the hips again. So I take the hips back and down towards my heel. I keep my chest up nice and tall and active the entire time. And when I go to push, I come out of it the same way I go into it. Maybe a little slower, but that's okay. But the positioning is still the same. So just like when we do pause squats, don't worry about holding for the whole length. Make sure positioning is there. Our next exercise is that single leg foot assisted pistol. So I'm going to get myself set up in my hip width stance. I'm going to set myself up with the toe behind, but pretty close to the heel. So I can play around with this a few different ways. First round of this is always nice to give yourself a little bit more assistance in terms of warming this up. So my toe is going to be roughly where it would be for my single leg RDL. From here, I'm going to take my hips down to my heel, keeping my chest up high just like I would in a normal squat mechanic. Then I'm going to push through that balancing leg and keep this leg here for support. Now, the stronger I get with this movement and or the more warmed up I get, I can bring this foot closer and or even wrap it around onto the back of the ankle, taking away a little bit of my support and that extra help with that kickstand. So depending on where you're at with that movement, you can experiment with that. But first things first, make sure our range of motion is there, our position is there before we start making it harder. I am a fan of using a 3-second tempo down for this, just so you can really feel your positioning and your depth. If you don't want to add that tempo, that's fine. Just try not to bounce out of it. Stay nice and engaged the entire time. Now, quick recap. We have a wide stance good morning for 3 reps, side lunge, hold for 10 seconds per side, foot assisted pistol for 5 a side, 2 to 3 rounds. You can take that down, no rush, and then come along with me for the next phase where we're going to head down to the floor. Now, for our next phase, we might need a little extra matting under our knees depending on where we're at, but what we have is our quad plank. So come along with me down to the floor. I'm going to get set up in that tabletop. Hands are under the shoulders, knees are under those hips, and my toes are curled under. I'm going to establish and pull those ribs in, press the shoulders to the ceiling, and then I'm going to lift the knees about an inch off the floor, pulling everything into that center line and really holding that position strong. I'm going to hold anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds. So if you're looking at that going, I kind of like to build my capacity there, but I can't hold it for longer than 10 seconds. That's okay. What you can do is hold for 10 seconds, lower down, give yourself maybe a cat-cow curl, set it up again, and then accumulate 30 seconds in 10-second intervals, and that's totally fine. So have fun with that when you guys play. Just focus on that good position through the shoulders and that tight rib position as well. Our next exercise flows right from that tabletop, and it's the hip C.A.R.s. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do a rep from the front, from the side so you can see since I'm here, and then I'm gonna go from the front. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get set through the ribs, through the shoulders. We're gonna maintain this tight position through the core. I'm gonna take my right knee and I'm gonna squeeze it up towards my right elbow. I'm gonna lift it up, take it around to my end range, pull it in, and then take it back around, working that nice circle, trying to isolate that leg. So I'm trying not to lean too much to the side or contort my body in any way. I'm just trying to move that hip and leg at an isolated venture. Slower the better with these, you guys, so really take the time with this. So from the front, again, I get set up, I pull my ribs and hips in, press my shoulders to the ceiling so I get nice and set through the shoulder. I'm gonna pull my knee towards my elbow. I'm gonna take it up to the side, take it around, drawing a big circle with that knee, pull it in, and then take it back the same direction and work that opposite way. So take your time with that, you guys. The slower the better. I cannot stress that enough, especially to experience the fullest range of motion you have. I don't want you to go to the height that makes your glutes cramp. I just want you to work that range and take your time. You'll notice though, whenever I do this lift, this side of my body stays completely still. If you want to have a little coaching cue or a self-coaching cue, put a foam roller or something beside you by your hip that's easy to knock over. And if you knock it over, you know you're shifting your weight to the left or to the right, whatever side you're working on. So you can use that as a helper. You can also do it up against the wall so you can really feel that contact. If you are starting to lean, the wall can keep you honest and prevent you from leaning too far and kind of deviating from the plan of isolating this hip. So take your time, move slow. After that, we stay in our tabletop and we're going to move into our bird dog. So our bird dog is going to be working on that tabletop position again. You are going to extend your right leg, your left hand, straight back and straight forward, reaching for that long reach. You're going to hold anywhere from 1 to 3 seconds, and you're going to come back into your table. Staying nice and tight and set, extending the opposite side, holding that position nice and flat as we come back in. Our goal is to try and create a straight line. So if I came up to you with like a broomstick or a hockey stick and just sort of laid it on your back, it would stay nice and level from your foot all the way to your hand. So we want to try and stay as flat as we can. Something that can be really helpful for us in this movement as well is starting with the leg and focusing on that extension, working on getting it straight back, and then reaching the arm up. And I'm totally fine with that if you need to separate the two movements to get those positions right. So really focus on pushing that heel straight back, not necessarily worrying about lifting it high. Straight back, straight out with the hand. What we have there is 6 to 10 reps at a 1 to 3 second hold per side and per rep. As a quick recap, our quad plank for 10 to 30 seconds, or accumulating 30 seconds with that little cat-cow interval in between if you like. Hip C.A.R.s for 3 reps each direction per side. So working that nice and slow, heating up that hip, working on that range of motion. 3 reps each side in each direction. Into your bird dog for 6 to 10 alternating reps at 1 to 3 second holds per side. So working on that nice smooth flow back and forth for 2 to 3 rounds. Pause video, take that down. Come along with me with our last little phase of warm-up before we turn you loose on this core piece. So our last phase of warm-up is going to consist of a floor-facing angel hold and a lot of laying down stuff. So we're going to have some fun with this one today. It's gonna burn, so just be prepared. I'm going to lay on my stomach at the bottom of my push-up. My hands are going to come beside my chest, and I'm going to get myself set and ready. So my hand is underneath of my elbow, and I'm ready to do a push-up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my ribs and hips in, squeeze in my glutes, and I'm going to pull my shoulders back and lift those hands up off the ground. Now your hands aren't going to get very high, and that's okay. What we're looking at maintaining though is as I pull my shoulders back, is those elbows staying above my hands, and I'm not contorting my body in any way to get my hands higher off the ground. Even if your fingertips are still touching the floor, if your hands are still touching the floor, that's okay. What we're looking at is that upper back engagement while still maintaining this nice tight hollow position. So you're gonna work 3 reps of that with 5-second holds, or whatever holds you can maintain those positions. So anywhere from 3 to 5 is definitely plenty. It's a tough little movement set. After that, we stay on our stomach. We're gonna add in a new piece to this laying arm extension. So I'm gonna show you the arm extension first. So I lay down, my hands will come to the back with the palms up. My shoulders will be pulled back and my ribs will be pulled in. My arm extension is lifting the arms up to the sky. So that's phase 1. Now adding in the swimmer stretch, we can do 2 different ways here. We establish that good position, we press the hands up, and then from here, I'm gonna try and bring the back of my hand to my low back, and then extend. And then I'll do the other side. Back of the hand to the low back, and extend. So that would be a single arm swimmer stretch. It's a nice place to start. It's extremely challenging to do. I struggle with my right side in that position. I find it really hard bringing it back and holding that arm back in that extension position as I tuck it behind. But if you're having, you're like, hey, that was pretty good. That was pretty easy. We can do a 2-handed swimmer stretch. So what you do is you get set up, you're in your position, nice and tight through the ribs and hips, shoulders are back. I lift my hands up, and what I'm going to do is bring both hands back into that nice position, and then extend them up and lower back down. So you can play around with both hands, single hands, working the hand one at a time to a both hand. It's up to you. It's a very challenging exercise, and I don't want you to worry necessarily about getting your hand, the top of the hand, right to the low back. If you can get it just a little bit, and you're like, that's where I got it. All right, then start with that and build from there. It's a really tough position, and it's really hard to maintain that shoulder position, so take your time with that. Hold for a couple seconds on both ends, and then continue on to our last exercise, which is the PVC Prone Raise. So the PVC Prone Raise can again be done with a broomstick, a hockey stick, a towel, or nothing, like I'm going to show you right now. So my toes are together, pressed gently together into the floor. My glutes are tight, my ribs and hips pull in. My armpits press down, and then from here, I'm maintaining this hollow. I'm going to lift just my arms up, armpits facing down. I have a neck, and I maintain that nice tight position, building that shoulder stability, strength, and that good overhead position as well. I'll do 3 reps with a 10-second hold, resetting that position each time in between each rep, so I can maintain that nice build from the toes all the way up to the hands. Take your time with those, you guys. There's a lot of good shoulder maintenance and shoulder love there. Really focus on those. They're about finer tuning those shoulders and just really moving slow. So as a quick recap, we have our floor-facing angel hold, 3 reps at a 3 to 5 second count. Laying arm extension to swimmer stretch for 3 to 5 with a little hold with whatever variation I showed there. Pick the one that you want to play with and take it away. All right, see where it takes you. PVC Prone Raise at the end, 3 to 10 second holds, 2 to 3 rounds through that work set. Heat those shoulders up, get that core ready, because we're going to come at you pretty heavily on this next phase. So pause the video, take down anything else you need to do before we get you set up, because we're moving into the exercises of the workout now, which start off with a nice basic forearm plank, which is really not that basic because there's lots going on. So from here, let's get ourselves set up in our tabletop. We're going to bring our elbows underneath of our our shoulders. I'm going to get set up through my shoulders, keeping everything nice and tight, and I'm going to step a foot back, step a foot back. I pull my ribs and hips in, squeeze my glutes, press my shoulders up, and I'm just going to hold this position nice and strong. Now if this position is too much on the shoulders for you, or even if you're holding for the 20 seconds, or your 40 seconds, and you're like, I want to keep going, but I can't quite maintain position. Drop the knees and hold for the remaining time from the knee position.
You're still maintaining that hollow position. You're still holding that good strong forearm position, shoulder position, and that's what we're looking for. So if you're like, I can't quite do the full 40, but I can keep going, just drop your knees, take a moment, continue on holding that knee plank to the end of the 40 seconds, all right? If you're like, no, I'm pretty good with the forearm plank, it's not so bad, you can add in those toe points, or again, I find it really challenging just holding that isometric hold and just being still for 40 seconds. So sometimes it's always nice just to stop that movement, because sometimes it can give us that out with that little bit of movement and just give us that freedom. So play with what you want to. It's a forearm plank of whatever sorts you'd like to play with, 40 seconds of work, and then we move into a 20-second rest. After that, we have our side plank reach through. Another challenging core exercise, but mostly on the shoulders. What you're going to do is you're going to set yourself up in a strong side plank. So my shoulder is right over top of my hand, my shoulder is stacked over my other shoulder, and my arm is reaching up. From here, I'm going to take my arm and I'm going to reach it through, trying to reach to the back wall. I'm going to come back up and then extend back into that plank. So I'm working on a lot of balance and a little bit of rotation. This is not a fast movement. I want you guys to kind of play around with that idea of balance and position. You'll notice as I do this, I'm not coming up onto my toes as I do the rotation. My feet stay still and I hold strong in that side plank. If you're looking at me going, yeah, okay Dave, I have a hard enough time balancing on my hand, let alone doing any rotation. Our primary focus is the rotation in this exercise. So what I'd like you to play with is that supported side plank. So we get the hand under the shoulder, the knee down, and that other leg out nice and straight as a kickstand. So we take that nice setup position, and now I can work on that rotation and allow myself to work on that rotation through the shoulder and the thoracic spine and not have to worry about the balance so much, okay? So please explore this option. If you find that full side plank really challenging in terms of balancing, focus on that so you can work on the rotation and not spend most of the time on that side trying to just stay upright. So we have 40 seconds of side plank reach through, but that's 20 seconds per side. So it's not as bad as some people are probably thinking, going, oh my God, 40 seconds per side. No, no, no. 20 seconds per side, just a little transition there to get to the other side. After that, you have a 20-second rest. You can move yourself around, shake yourself out a bit, and then we're going to move into a plank to plank walkout. So this is a full plank from your toes or your knees. We're going to get set up with our hands under the shoulders. We establish that good plank, and what you're going to work on is walking yourself out to your hollow extended plank, to whatever position you feel comfortable, and then walking back into your plank. You're going to hold for a couple seconds at each end, so a couple seconds in the extended, couple seconds in that full plank. If you're more comfortable going from the knees, that's fine. You can hold that position, that little plank, and then walk it out, maintaining that hollow, and then walk it back in. So regardless of knees or toes, you're still taking it out as far as you feel comfortable, and you're working on that good shoulder position with that armpit wrapping around, trying to give yourself a big hug with your lats. So really stabilizing that shoulder, and know that you only have to take it out as far as you feel comfortable. We still need to be able to come back in. We need to make sure that we don't go so far out that we end up on our stomach. Our last exercise on the list is our hollow hold. So we're going to lay down. I'm going to lay on our backs. From here, I'm going to pull my ribs and hips in together, which is going to press my low back into the floor. And it's going to lift my shoulders and my feet just a little bit. So I'm just in this nice little bracket shape or smiley face. And then I'm going to hold that for 40 seconds. Super challenging. So the other option we can play with is keeping the foot down. So we can pull the ribs and hips in. Same position. I don't worry about getting this leg super high. It's about level with my toe on the floor. And I hold this position for 20 seconds. I switch, and I hold that side for 20 seconds. So that's another option. Another option for the hollow, we can bring a foot up, making it flat with the knee bend,
And that will just give us a little bit more foundation to find that hollow position. So it'll give you a chance to really engage that low back and find that nice tight core position, okay? So that foot flat just gives you a little bit more help in that attempt to find that hollow. Now our other variation we can play with, if the shoulders are the factor, the limiting factor here, we can bring them down to the side and we can bring those fingers down into the ground. We can squeeze into our hollow, or we can take the hands off the floor and we can work on our positioning here.
That can really help maintain a good rib position, because as soon as we start bringing the hands above our body and overhead, it makes it a lot harder to maintain this hollow with the ribs and the hips. So play with whatever range, whatever position you feel comfortable, all right? And especially if you're starting here, there's nothing wrong. It's like, hey, this is getting easier. I can bring my hands straight above my shoulders. Awesome. Now I'm going to start bringing them a little bit further back and start bringing them and building them into that overhead position. So experiment, play. It's a super tough position to hold for 40 seconds. So if you need to rest in there, or if you're holding a double leg and you need to drop to a single, that's also fine to keep building that intensity through the core in that hollow position. Quick recap again for you guys. We have 5 rounds. Forearm plank of 40 seconds, 20-second rest. Side plank reach through, 40 seconds, which is 20 seconds per side. Rest 20 seconds. Plank to plank walkout, 40 seconds. Rest 20 seconds. And then you're going to do a hollow hold for 40 seconds. Rest 20. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Keep it going. Have some fun. And just make sure you give your belly a little bit of rub in there, because it's going to get a little burny. All right? Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic day today. Work for quality on this. It's going to be a gut-busting good time, a good core position, and I hope you enjoy that warm-up. It's going to touch on everything in the body, just get everything ready to go. Have a fantastic day. Work for quality. Have fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, you guys.